Well, March Madness in April, very exciting, yes? Especially for us in Cleveland, very, very exciting, yes? And for Purdue, this is like a year of redemption. So you may remember a little obscure team last year, Farley Dickinson. You remember them? You remember them, yes? Last year, so you have Purdue, they were top seeded, right? And this little innocuous, somewhat irrelevant Farley Dickinson, they wiped them out. They were number 16, wiped out number 1. It was quasi-embarrassing, yes? They were quasi-devastated, yes? Yes, they were. Say yes. They really were, right? So long story short, they obviously had a hard think after last year, and the coach from Purdue, who is now tomorrow night going to play for the championship, right? They did a big interview with him, and they said, last year, number 16, wiping out top-seeded, embarrassing, yes? Humiliating, yes? So they said, we went into the long locker room, right? And we really started thinking this. And he goes on to say this. He said, you know, for the brackets, it's a single elimination and you're out. And the mentality that most coaches bring is survive and move forward, right? Survive and take the next step, right? And he's like, that way didn't work anymore. He said, we had to reimagine ourselves. That's the old playbook. He said, what we needed to do is adapt so that we could take the next step. He said, the old way is we had to literally just survive to get to the next step, right? He goes on to say, we needed a whole different playbook. We were embarrassed last year, and the new playbook is one of adaptability. How do we keep reimagining ourselves, even in the midst of the game, so that we can succeed and take the next step? The old way is to survive. What's the old way? The old way is? The old playbook is? Survive so that you can move forward, right? Now, what do we have to do? What do we have to do? Adapt. And Jesus is the perfect model of the new playbook. And those disciples locked in the upper room, all they were trying to do was survive. Literally imagine, they were locked. All they had to do is just figure out, how am I going to get to the next day, right? All they were trying to do was survive. And what does Jesus do? Jesus, the model of adaptability, flexibility, responsiveness, he literally enters into that situation. They don't even need to unlock the door. And over and again, Jesus threw out the old playbook, if you will, and he literally is trying to respond to their needs collectively, and certainly for Thomas individually. What does he do? He literally enters in. He breathes upon them words of peace. He pours upon them on this Divine Mercy Sunday the mercy and the compassion and the grace and the strength that they need. Literally, they were stuck in that upper room. What were they trying to do? Survive. They were like gridlocked, right? And what does Jesus come to? He models a whole different way. He is adaptable, flexible, and responsive. And even think about Jesus' ministry. Whether the room was locked, whether they were on the beach, whether they were at the bonfire, no matter where they were at, Jesus found a way to enter into that moment. Jesus found a way and continues to find a way to enter into every moment of our lives. That is his offer. That is his promise. And that is, honestly, our opportunity. So here's the coach saying about the old playbook of just kind of survive and advance. It didn't work. What do we have to do? We had to become adaptable. And Jesus is the model for that, for us. And what does Jesus want to do? He wants to enter into every moment, every situation, every crevice, every need of your life. He wants to breathe upon you, if you will, the comfort and peace and grace of the Spirit. He wants to pour upon you the outpouring of mercy, care, and compassion. He wants to give you the wisdom and the grace that you need. So we have a choice. We can go to the old playbook, which is the model of survive, so we can move to the next step. Or we can follow the example of Jesus, and that's the example of adaptability, open-heartedness, and allowing the Lord to enter into every moment, every opportunity, every need, every crevice of our lives. As we walk into the week, right now, in your life, where is the moment, the need, the crevice, if you will, that you need the Lord to enter in? Jesus, the font of mercy. Jesus, the breath of peace. In your life right now, where is that moment, that locked door, where you are simply surviving? And how do you let the Lord enter in? Name that space. Name that place. Secondly, on this Divine Mercy Sunday, there is a classic prayer in Divine Mercy. Jesus, I trust in you. What's the prayer? Jesus, I trust in you. Easy to say, yes? Very, very, very hard to live. And as you go through this day and this week, over and again, take this simple, easy phrase and really allow it to be your prayer again and again. Jesus, I trust in you. Repeat. Jesus, I trust in you. Trusting that if Jesus could find a way to enter into those early disciples' lives in a locked room where they were gridlocked, how much more can God enter into your life to give you the mercy, the compassion, the strength, the wisdom, the peace that you need? And thirdly, the first reading is a wonderful example of the adaptability of the early followers. Listen to what they did. Like, having had that encounter with Jesus, they said, we have to reimagine how we do everything, how we take care of others, how we take care of our families. If God could be so flexible, responsive, and adaptive to our needs, how much more should we be able to do that for one another? And as you go into the week, throw out the old playbook. We're just going to survive and get through this. God willing to get to the next day, to the next game, to the next whatever. What is Jesus? Adapt so that you can advance and move forward. So in your relationships, wherever you find yourself, if God could be so flexible, adaptive, responsive to your needs, how do we carry that same spirit into every relationship and conversation we have this week? The coach from Purdue, wonderful conversation. He said, after last year, we had to step back, and the old way was to survive so that we could advance, right? He said, the new way, we have to adapt so that we can move forward. Throw this one out. Follow the example of Jesus, who in a most adaptable, flexible, open-hearted way wants to respond and enter into every moment, every conversation, and every crevice of your life.